Hi everyone and welcome to my channel Hisame Artwork. It is autumn, so we're doing the vintage list. I really love doing these lists because I love sharing stuff that I enjoy and I want you guys to know about it. And also, I get a lot of people that, say silly things like, oh, animation in the 90s was the best. Animation now is bad, blah, 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 blah. So I guess this list is for you guys that hate modern stuff. Of course, it's not true, and I will do another list of stuff that isn't old, but it feels old. So I think you'll like that as well. So for this list, the Aristocats in the 1970s, Asterix and Obelix, the 12th task, that is 76. By the way, vintage for me means before the 90s because I was born in 89. So whatever is before me is vintage. Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, 84. Land of Time, I said 88. And Robin Hood, 73. For some of you, this might be ancient, not just vintage. And of course, for honorable mention, Secret of Nim, 82. And American Tail, 86. And if you know of one that's from before the 90s and you really loved it, share it with us. We'd love to know what are your favorites. Maybe there's something I missed. I like for African and Chinese films, it's kind of hard for me to get them where I am. I am in East Europe, so that's just what the axis you have, like finding out stuff. Um, I'm in like in the Western world, so that means Europe, US, Japan. So that's the stuff that usually reaches me. So to me, vintage, like I said, means before I was born, so before the 90s. And of course, I have a soft spot for happy sentimental endings, weird stories, animals, and hand drawn 2D animation. This is my disclosure just so you guys know what my biases are going into this. My top choices are based on story, high quality of animation. I did study animation at film school, so I really am into that. And of course, the characters, if I like the design and the personalities, if I find them relatable. So, of course, some things might not be for me, but they might be for you, so share below. And coming up next, Halloweeny stuff. Halloween is my favorite holiday, and that's gonna be the whole month of October. I'm gonna try and do as many Halloweeny lists as I can. So, two honorable mentions, because I find it weird to put it before number one. Like, usually these are not so great. Like, why would you put them ahead? So, these are two rare gems. I think they're an acquired taste. They pretty much flopped at the cinema and also uh, they don't have much of a fan base, but they have a little dedicated fan base. I think part of the reason why it didn't have so much success is that it is family centric. So, Secret of Nim, the protagonist, is a mother, it's not the kids. So, if you show the kids a film and the hero is their mom, they're probably gonna be like less interested in. Also, they're very dark and moody, so a lot of kids might not like it. Like I'm a special kid. I like spoofy stuff. I like dark and moody. Halloween is my favorite, like I said. So, the two are kind of up my alley. I love the dark color palette. It was also the trend back then. I remember Batman, the animated series, which is gonna be in another list. It's super awesome. It's again very dark and moody because it's about Batman, but also it was kind of, I think, the trend before to kind of have that color palette in animations in the US anyway. And another bonus for me is that my husband loves an American Tale. We have lived in the U.S. for 5 years, so it's kind of something that he likes. So then I like it because he likes it. When you have someone that you love and you're sharing with them something, it makes it special for you too, even if it's not so important for you yourself, but just the context that makes it special. Next up on the list, number five, it is Robin Hood, and the story is pretty timeless. steal from the rich, give to the poor, eat the rich, and all that stuff. Like these kind of stories are never gonna get old. As long as there's humanity, we're gonna keep having stories like this. So that is part of the appeal for me. Also, it has cute animals, the underdog story as well. Everybody loves an underdog story. It's a Robin Hood-esque story again. This is like some social commentary stuff that I find funny and hilarious, like when Robin is duping the silly rich king. There's like a lot of comedy there, and it was played for laughs and it's super funny. And I really like this kind of humor in stories with the Weasley character that charms his way. And you kind of get this sort of justice by doing bad things. It's always funny, and you can definitely make a lot of cute stories that way. Very entertaining jokes. Heavy stuff, but it's still for kids. So, I mean, like I said, it is the social commentary, blah 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 stuff, but it still, I think, is appealing for kids, and you can still watch it together. And I think that Miyazaki is the king of that, heavy stuff, but for kids, like all of his stories. The theme is pretty heavy, and a lot of things go over kids' heads, and like only later you kind of realize some stuff. It is, I think it's called the Tom and Jerry effect. Like when you're a kid, you relate more to Jerry, but the mouse, and when you're older, you relate more to Tom, the cat is just trying to get his job done that he hates, and there's someone that's making his life hard. So it's an interesting thing to kind of watch it as a child and then rewatch it as an adult. It's a fun experience, and you can do it with your kids as well. Another thing I like about Robin Hood is the old timey Disney songs. Sue me, I like the musicals. I'm kind of sad they took them out. I found it enjoyable. The Disney songs are really fun for me anyway. Um, I'm sorry the haters took over. We don't have it anymore. It became, I think, kind of trendy and fashionable to bash the Disney songs, and so everybody was like, "Oh, the crowd hates it, so we're gonna remove it." It's the squeaky wheel effect. And of course, it's hand drawn. It is beautifully hand drawn. Robin Hood is such a pretty film. The animation is great, and I definitely recommend it. Even like I remember some people commenting on how Disney um, recycles its animations. Well, if it's good, don't fix it. If it's not broken, something like that. The saying was. So yeah, 1973. Some of you, not even your parents were born, I think. um, yeah, number four, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So it is a beautiful hand-drawn animation, beautifully animated. The story's great. It's impactful. It's a good message to give to kids. It's pretty heavy stuff. Like I said, it is a Miyazaki film. The lore is very rich. Most of the is, I would say, the most Miyazaki film ever, and it's one of the kind of first films he did by himself when he worked somewhere and then he made his own studio. And this story he wrote him himself, like all the world building stuff. Like later on, he'll do adaptations of books like Howl, and so on. And Laputa, I think, in the Sky is after a book as well. But this one, Nausicaa, Valley of the Wind, it's something that he did himself, and he said that he's never gonna do a sequel or anything like that. So we're not gonna return to the world of Nausicaa until he passes away, and whoever inherits the stuff sells it off to Disney or somewhere else, and then we're gonna get a bajillion sequels and reboots and reshoots and stuff like that. Um, So I suspect that we're gonna get a lot of bad stuff in the future, but like maybe in 50 years we'll get some more new good stuff for in that world. So yeah, but it's gonna be complicated. It's gonna be turbulent. I would love to get some more um, faithful adaptation, continuation of this world because it was really awesome with the monsters and the mushrooms and the insects. It's really an interesting world. Like I said, it's very lore rich. But yeah, Miyazaki said he's never gonna do a sequel, so it's one of those really unfortunate situations where you kind of have to wait for the original author to pass away. There are some school of thoughts on the author and the author's rights and kind of the author's vision and things like that. Like, how do you adapt? Like, do you accept that? Do you think that's good? And the controversy around a lot of sequels. I would give the Mandalorian TV series as a good example of continuing a world that people love. Like people really love the Star Wars, the original trilogy, and people wanted more stuff like that. And then we got a lot of things after Disney bought Star Wars that weren't what the fans would consider faithful adaptations, but after like 50 years, we got The Mandalorian. So it took 50 years, and now we got kind of something that the fans approve of. And a lot of people seem to be happy about it. And then there are other things for fans that love and blah blah blah. So yeah, it's gonna be complicated with Nausicaa, but I'm hopeful that it will turn out good in the end. Land Before Time, hand drawn 2D, love it. For me, yes, thank you. Give more. Dinosaurs, yes, dinosaurs. I love dinosaurs. I even like friendship power films. I mean, as long as it's not too much, like Naruto overdoes the friendship power thing. Like a lot of shonen anime hits you over the face with friendship power. It's kind of like Hollywood movies and girl power, will like slap you over the face, girl power, and with Japanese anime, it's boyfriend's power. Shonen means little boy, I think. So yeah, it's like shonen power, kapow, yay. I think it's done more tastefully in The Land Before Time. I really enjoyed the animation. I love that it has happy endings. Yes, thank you. I think it makes a film a lot more replayable if it has a happy ending. I don't say no to sad uh, pondering endings. Like it's very European to have like a depressing ending that leaves you thinking about your place in the universe. Um, but like I usually don't rewatch European films because of that. They make me feel miserable. Game of Thrones as well is like it's a sad ending, it's a thoughtful ending, and it's like, do I really want to rewatch it? Well, um, Avatar: The Last Airbender and The Legend of Korra, it has a happy ending, feel good ending, and so I can just rewatch those over and over because I know everything's gonna be alright in the end, and I'm not gonna be sad after I watch it. So yeah, also educational for paleontology. Well, I mean, it's debatable because this came out in 88, so the research they had was probably from the 70s, and now we know a lot of dinosaurs look different than what they actually look in the cartoon. But, like, still the names are repeated and things like that, so it kind of helps kids to remember stuff. Also, if they kind of see the shapes, they'll, like, know, oh, that's a triceratops, and tri means three. And it has three horns on the top of its head. So, really basic stuff like that could be helpful for kids. So, in that context, you can say it's educational. It's for all ages. It's like a safe Disney film, sort of, but it's not a Disney film. It was done by a combination like Bluth that I talked before with the All Dogs Go to Heaven. That was his animation, and it's the same guys that did An American Tale, a film I talked at the beginning of this video. So if you're looking for Disney films that are not Disney but Disney-ish, Don Bluth is your guy. He also, I think, worked at Disney, so that's why the similarity of the style. Like, for example, Studio Ponok is an offshoot of Studio Ghibli, so that's why the art looks the same. It's not that Ponok is stealing or copying, it's just that it's like, it's a little baby, it's an offspring. It popped out of Studio Disney, Ghibli with its blessing. um, so yeah, that's how that is. This is how this looks like, and it's pretty awesome. I really love The Land Before Time, and I wish there was more of it, because I loved it. Um, Second on the list is a personal favorite. I really love this one because I just really love Asterix and Obelix because I grew up with it. Like those were the kind of the comics that were available in East Europe. Not a lot of American comics reached us. We had the French embassy, the French consulate in the capital where I lived, so you can go to their libraries and just read French stuff. And French stuff had Asterix and Obelix, so that's why it has like a little special place in my heart. And I love that, of course, it's hand drawn, it's 2D. The art is adorable. I really love that French animation has wacky shaped characters. Usually don't see that much, especially not in animes. Like in animes, everybody looks the same. You can't tell them apart. It's really leaning into that Asian stereotype. They have to kind of change the hair color of the girls to be able to tell apart which girl is which. Usually in French cartoons, that's not big of an issue. Definitely wasn't back in the day. And also, it had like the signature big noses. Like a lot of French cartoons have big noses. So if you see a cartoon that has big noses, you can bet your pennies. Uh, it it's French. I love the vintage slapstick humor animation. Like there's a lot of fighting. The Gauls are fighting each other. The Gauls are fighting the Romans. Um, it's really funny for me. I like that because I grew up, with Tom and Jerry. So that's kind of the humor that I've gotten used to and like. Some people today will say, "Oh, those animations are too violent," but I'm like, it's not real. And sometimes it can be very funny and creative, like in Tom and Jerry, the kind of stuff that happened. I think it's sort of educational for kids. Like they learn that before the Roman conquest, there were these Gauls in France, and there were different um, villages and tribes and things like that. So it's interesting. Also, these 12 tasks, they're based on Hercules' 12 tasks, so you kind of learn about those and the Greeks and blah blah blah. So, if you're not European and you want to know more about kind of European culture, this is one way to get into it if you know nothing and you want something like that's easily digestible and kind of superficial. Like, yeah, definitely. Asterix and Obelix, really funny. And I also like that it has adult humor. It's just not for kids. I think it goes over kids' heads. Like maybe some adults would be like, "Oh no, they're these two guys. They're stuck on an island with a lot of women that are pretty. Oh my God, think of the kids. What are we teaching them? No." Um, I think that it's not that bad. I mean, you can definitely watch it first yourself. Just skip, skip, skip. I'm sure if you're an adult, you know about the 12 tasks. It's not like you're getting spoiled for anything. And you can just jump ahead and see if it's alright for your kids and then just watch it with them. And of course, this is a very French film. It leans into a lot of French stereotypes and it's kind of self aware and makes fun of that. So that's something that always appeals to me, self aware humor. It would be like for my country, Romania, everybody knows about vampires. So I guess you would be like, how having a character that is a vampire and loves sarmale or something. Um, I'm laughing by myself at these things. You guys probably don't know much about Romanian culture, but those of you that do, maybe we should make a vampire that loves sarmale. That I think that would be a good plot. And first place, my favorite, the Aristocats. I love this animation so much. It has cats. I have a cat myself. I've always loved cats. This is just I want more of this. I know there were some sequels made and TV shows that weren't great, but this, the original, so awesome. The mistress, the owner of the cats, is an opera singer, and she lives alone with all of her cats, and she's rich and chic and classy, and I love it. I wish that was me. I hope that will be me. Yeah, so it's the ultimate homage to vintage. Like, it was vintage when it came out in 1970, because it's like the film starts out with two really old characters, like the opera singer that is retired, because opera was no longer popular, and then she has a lawyer that is absolutely decrepit. He's one foot in the grave, and the humor is awesome. I just love this film so much. It's so much fun. It has cats in it. It's chic and classy. Adorable story and characters, cute animals, and their cats is even better. I mean, I love foxes a lot, so I'm glad that Robin Hood is a fox, but like these are cats, not cat humans. Um, I love the fact that it's pseudo French. Like in Europe, France and Italy, they have their charm, and we love them as well. And the Netherlands is kind of like a trio of iconic stuff. Spain as well. I mean, there are many countries in Europe that are kind of their identity and their cultures identifiable even to foreigners. So whenever something that is imitating one of these cultures, it's always fun to kind of see an outside view that is heartfelt and genuine. Um, like this film is pseudo French. It is in placed somewhere in Paris, I think, in a suburb, and it's great attention to detail, like the houses and everything, and the clothing, the atmosphere, and of course it has Disney songs. Like Disney songs are getting a lot of backlash these days, um, because of various cultural norms that have shifted. And it's kind of sad to see some of them bashed, but I think they can be updated to suit a modern audience. And I really love the Disney songs. There's like a lot of stuff that isn't always made very well. Like, for example, Netflix Castlevania is pretty, how should I say, neglectful of Romanian culture and poorly made, in my opinion. But of course, nobody cares that we're offended. We're only 16 million. So that's kind of issue. But fortunately, in time, they'll make like better films about Romanian culture, and that is like uh, more attentively made, not just superficially. But like Aristocats, I don't know. I'm not French. I don't know how you guys feel about this film. If you have a good opinion or a bad opinion, leave it down below in the comments. Please let me know what you think. Does Aristocats offend you? Is it culturally insensitive and culturally appropriation of French culture? I think it's a love letter, honestly. I'm sure the animators are long gone now, but to me, it feels like it was done with love and care, and I love this cartoon. So yeah, and also bonus, I'm gonna talk about Alice in Wonderland. Has been on another list of my top favorite animations of all time. If you want the extra aged vintage feel, you can go with Alice in Wonderland. It's an awesome film. If you want to go right to the origin of it, you can watch Snow White. It was Disney's first live film, feature film. Sorry, feature film. It's an hour and 30 minutes almost, I think. So if it's 10 minutes, it's a short. If it's 30 minutes, a medium length film, and if it's over an hour, it's a feature film. I think that's kind of the criteria. And if it's 2 hours, it's Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. Yeah, so that was my list. Aristocats is my favorite vintage because it's kind of have like all the old timey stuff. It's has like a French feel to it. I love that. And yeah, so I don't know if you guys know, but I make comics and I sell art prints, not just tutorials and reviews. And I have cat art if you have the coin over at my Society 6 shop. I have art prints with kitty stuff. And yeah, thanks for watching. You can find me on social media. You can follow me for updates on Twitter and things like that. I'm on Facebook. If you want to buy art from me, I'm on Fiverr, on Lulu, on Society 6, on Redbubble. If you want to support, you can find me on Coffee and Patreon. So yeah, subscribe to this channel. Join us. We have macarons. Cookies are if you're American, macarons if you're European. Bye bye, everyone.